Welcome to the deep dive. There are a few figures in business and tech today who generate quite as much buzz or, frankly, as much controversy as Elon Musk. Just say the name, right? And boom, conversation started. Whether it's rockets, electric cars, or, well, whatever's hitting the headlines that week. So today we're really going deep. We're unpacking the Elon Musk story using a pretty detailed profile as our guide. And we're talking about, one of the wealthiest people on the planet, net worth somewhere around $400 billion in early 2025, according to our source, obviously CEO of Tesla, SpaceX, what used to be Twitter. But the source material also points to this newer, kind of significant, though unofficial role, head of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, they call it. That alone just shows you the kind of reach we're dealing with here. It's massive. So our goal today for you is to get past those headlines. We want to look at the key moments, the big bets, the really tough challenges, and maybe some personal stuff too, things that really shaped his journey so you can walk away with a hopefully a richer understanding of what's actually going on. Find those aha moments. Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. Before the rockets, before Tesla, what was shaping this guy in his early years? What were those foundations like?
Well, his early life, yeah, it's fascinating. Born in Pretoria, South Africa, 1971. And the source paints this picture of like both real privilege and some serious personal challenges happening at the same time.
Okay, privilege how?
His father, Elon Musk, was an electromechanical engineer, a property developer, even had a stake in an emerald mine. So considerable wealth there. And his mother, May Musk, she was a model and a dietitian.
Right, so definitely a comfortable start financially. But you mentioned challenges.
Yeah, it wasn't all smooth sailing. His parents divorced in 1980, and he chose to live with his father afterwards, which he apparently later called a mistake. But even from a young age, his interests were clearly elsewhere, like deep into science fiction, tinkering with computers. Our source mentions he often felt pretty isolated.
Okay. And I read something interesting in our notes, that classic entrepreneur origin story moment. He sold a video game he made, Blastar.
Yeah, for $500 as a kid.
$500. That's pretty telling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even back then.
It really is. More than just the money, right?
Yeah.
It shows that early knack for not just having an idea, but actually building it, finishing it, and then selling it. That whole cycle, execute and monetize. It was there from the start. And his school years, Pretoria Boys High School, sounds like they were tough. Reports of isolation, bullying, probably built some resilience.
Makes sense. And he didn't stay in South Africa forever. He made the jump to North America.
That's right. Moved to Canada when he was 17, started at Queen's University in Ontario, then transferred to the University of Pennsylvania. And this is key.
Yeah.
He got dual bachelor's degrees, economics and physics.
The blend, business smarts and the hard science. You can sort of see the blueprint forming there, can't you?
Exactly. And he didn't wait long to put it into practice. Jumped right into entrepreneurship.
Right. Zip2 and then PayPal. How did those early wins really set him up for, well, everything else?
So Zip2, mid-90s, he started it with his brother Kimball. The idea was basically online business directories and maps for newspapers. Pretty cutting-edge stuff for the early web.
Yeah, definitely ahead of its time.
And it worked. Compaq bought them out in '99 for around $307 million. Suddenly, Musk's a multimillionaire in his late 20s.
Wow.
But here's the interesting thing, the insight from our source.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about cashing out. It seems like it was a very deliberate strategy. Build something, sell it, get capital. Almost like these early companies were just fuel. Fuel for the much bigger, much crazier ideas he already had simmering, like SpaceX. He needed serious cash for those.
So less like I made it and more like, okay, funding secured for phase 2.
Pretty much a funding mechanism for the moonshots. It's a different kind of entrepreneurial drive, really intense.
And he definitely didn't let that Zip2 money gather dust.
Not for a second. Plowed it straight into X.com in 1999, in an online financial services portal.
Okay.
Then came the merger with Confinity. They were the ones who'd actually developed PayPal. And then the big one, eBay buys PayPal in 2002, $1.5 billion, Musk's share. About $160 million after taxes. So this quick sequence, build, merge, exit, build, merge, exit, it cemented his reputation. This guy could spot tech trends and make serious money fast.
Okay, so now he's in his early 30s, sitting on a fortune. Most people might, buy an island. He decides to build rockets and electric cars.
Yeah, pretty much. The exact opposite of early retirement. He dove headfirst into these incredibly ambitious, some would say impossible projects.
Let's talk SpaceX first. Founded in 2002. There's that wild story in our source about how it started, the spitting incident.
Right. It's almost legendary. Allegedly, in 2001, he's in Russia trying to buy rockets, gets offended by a Russian designer supposedly spat on or near him, and decides on the flight back, forget buying them, I'll build my own damn rockets to compete.
Chuckles. Whether it's exactly true or not, it definitely captures a certain decisiveness, a confrontational style, maybe.
It paints a picture, for sure. But look, it wasn't easy. The source notes SpaceX's first 3 launches failed.
3 failures. That would sink most companies.
Absolutely. But they kept going and eventually became the first private company to dock with the International Space Station, a huge milestone.
What was the key insight there? Just sheer persistence.
Persistence, yes, but also fundamentally rethinking how you build and launch rockets. He brought a startup mentality to an industry dominated by governments and legacy giants. Focused relentlessly on cost, reusability, vertical integration, built a whole new supply chain, a new philosophy. It wasn't just a rocket company, it was a different kind of rocket company.
And financially, how did that work out?
Pretty well. A $350 billion valuation mentioned in the source, heavily built on government contracts, NASA, DoD, others. Over $22 billion from federal agencies. Plus, they expanded into commercial services with Starlink, that satellite broadband network.
Okay, so from orbit down to the highway, let's shift to Tesla. Our source makes it clear he wasn't technically a founder, right? But he got involved early and took charge.
Correct. Early investor, quickly moved into leadership, and his impact was undeniable. Tesla, under Musk, basically proved electric cars weren't just golf carts. They could be fast, sexy, desirable.
Totally changed the game for the whole auto industry. Forced everyone else to play catch-up.
Exactly. Made EVs aspirational. You know the lineup, Model S, 3, X, Y. And it wasn't just cars. They bought SolarCity in 2016, became a huge player in battery storage and solar power systems, too.
But it hasn't all been smooth sailing recently, has it? The Cybertruck launch, sales figures?
No, definitely some bumps. The Cybertruck launch was maybe not the runaway success hoped for initially, with quarterly sales missing expectations, according to our source. And they made that interesting decision. Scrapped the plan for the affordable $25,000 car, the Model 2, at least for now. Instead, they're focusing on revamping the existing Model Y for 2025.
Yet, despite all that, Tesla's market cap often dwarfs all the other major car companies combined. What's driving that investor confidence?
A lot of it seems tied to the long-term vision, especially autonomous driving. Investors are betting on Tesla cracking that code, which would be, revolutionary.
Right. Now, let's talk about X-Twitter, maybe the most chaotic chapter recently. Acquires it for $44 billion in 2022 after that whole legal drama.
Yeah, chaotic is one word for it. The source describes him making immediate, drastic changes. Sweeping changes to leadership, operations, and especially content moderation. It says he essentially eviscerated moderation.
Strong words. What was the fallout from that approach?
Swift and pretty severe. That shift in moderation, as the source puts it, caused a major advertiser exodus almost immediately. User trust, public perception.
Yeah.
It all took a big hit.
And then the rebrand to X, the everything app vision.
Right. He wants X to be this all-encompassing platform, payments, messaging, AI, everything. A huge ambition. But the reality check, according to the source material, is stark. It's been called a financial calamity. Lost something like 3/4 of its value since the takeover.
Ouch.
Yeah. And I think the deeper insight here maybe is that X shows the limits of disruption. Even with Musk's capital and force of personality, trying to fundamentally remake a platform by gutting core functions like moderation. Well, it alienated users, scared advertisers. It shows that sometimes the established dynamics, user habits, market trust, they're harder to just bulldoze than maybe he anticipated. Potential blind spot.
That's a really interesting point. Even for someone like Musk, some things push back. Okay, so beyond the big three, SpaceX, Tesla X, he's got other irons in the fire too, right?
Well, yeah. There's Neuralink brain-computer interfaces, really futuristic stuff, aiming to treat neurological conditions, maybe even merge humans and AI someday.
Wild.
Then the Boring Company, literally digging tunnels to try and solve traffic for transport, utilities, freight.
Right, digging tunnels.
And the newest one, XAI, launched in 2023. Developing what he calls maximum truth-seeking AI. Their first model, Grok, came out late last year.
Wow. Space, cars, social media, brains, tunnels, AI. The sheer breadth is just staggering. Is there anyone else operating on that kind of scale across so many different cutting-edge fields?
It's hard to think of a direct parallel, honestly. His approach seems laser-focused on what he sees as the big existential challenges and opportunities for humanity. Space, energy, AI, brain interfaces. He tackles the stuff others deem too hard, too expensive, too crazy, with this relentless ambition that often ignores conventional business wisdom.
But that's also where the friction comes in, isn't it, when that vision hits reality?
Exactly. That's where it often clashes. Clashes with regulators, with investor demands for profit, with, the messy realities of running a social platform like X. It's this constant tension, the audacious future versus the practical present.
Okay, so we've covered the business empire, the scale of ambition, but that's only part of the story. His journey is also deeply intertwined with legal fights, a growing political footprint, and a very public personal life. Let's get into the political side first. Our source used a pretty dramatic phrase to describe his recent influence.
Yeah, the Financial Times, quoted in the profile, called it a hostile takeover of the U.S. government, which is certainly provocative language.
Definitely grabs your attention. What's behind that claim?
Well, the source details over $280 million in campaign donations and very public support for Donald Trump in the 2024 election cycle. And that translated, apparently, into this significant, though technically unofficial, role as head of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, giving him, the source argues, huge influence over federal policy and spending.
Unofficial head, but with huge influence. How does that work? The White House calls him a senior advisor with no actual authority, but Trump himself has credited his leadership at DOGE. It sounds confusing.
It's definitely unconventional. And according to the source, he's used that influence to push for major cost cutting, like slashing USA's workforce dramatically from 10,000 down to about 600, and gutting other agencies too.
Wow. How are the established government institutions reacting to this?
With a lot of resistance, as you might expect. It's led to lawsuits. Federal courts limiting DOGE's access to Treasury systems, for example. Experts raising alarms about system security. Democratic states are suing too, claiming he has virtually unchecked power. Now, just to be clear, we're reporting what's in the source material here neutrally, not taking sides on these claims.
Understood. But it clearly shows this tension when huge private power steps so directly into public governance.
Exactly. An unprecedented situation, really.
And the legal headaches don't end with DOGE. He's had quite a few run-ins with regulators over the years.
He really has. The big one early on was the 2018 funding secure tweet about Tesla. That got him in hot water with the SEC.
Right, I remember that.
Led to a $20 million fine, and he had to step down as Tesla's chairman for 3 years. Then, more recently, there's the battle over his huge Tesla pay package. The Delaware court invalidated it twice now, including appeals in 2024, called the $56 billion sum unfathomable, and said the board's approval was fundamentally flawed.
Fundamentally flawed. That's pretty damning language from a court. And there were issues around the X acquisition, too.
Yep. Lawsuits when he first tried to back out of the deal, then more lawsuits from employees after the mass layoffs that followed the takeover. And it's ongoing. Tesla's still dealing with cases about alleged racial discrimination and hostile work environments. SpaceX faces constant scrutiny over launch approvals, environmental impact. And the SEC sued again in 2025, this time alleging he didn't properly disclose his initial Twitter stock buys before the takeover attempt. It's just a constant state of legal engagement.
Shifting gears a bit to his personal life and beliefs, he's very vocal about this idea of population collapse, right? Says it's a bigger threat than climate change.
He is, yes. Very outspoken on that. And it does cast his own family life in a certain light, given that stance. Our source notes he has 13 children with several partners, 3 with the musician Grimes, 3 with Siobhan Zillis, an executive at Neuralink.
13 children. That certainly aligns with his stated concern about birth rates. He's also made some controversial public statements about family.
Yes, particularly comments about his estranged transgender daughter, claiming she's now dead to him. That drew a lot of criticism. And just as a side note, a fast fact from the source, he revealed on Saturday Night Live in 2021 that he has Asperger's syndrome.
Okay, so when you put it all together, the immense business power, the political influence, the legal battles, the very public and sometimes controversial personal beliefs in life, what's the big picture takeaway here for you?
I think the crucial thing to see is how all these threads intertwine. His expanding power, both in business and now politics, seems to almost magnetically attract more scrutiny, more legal challenges. It really throws a spotlight on the accountability of figures with this level of influence. And it raises profound questions about where personal ideology ends and public or corporate leadership begins, especially when that ideology starts actively shaping industries and maybe even government policy.
Right. So recapping our deep dive today, we've traced Musk's path from that privileged but complicated childhood in South Africa through those really smart strategic early wins with Zip2 and PayPal that built his initial capital.
Mm-hmm. Then launching into the stratosphere, literally, with SpaceX, and revolutionizing cars with Tesla.
Followed by the turbulent takeover of Twitter, now X, and branching out into AI, tunnels, brain chips.
He's undeniably this incredible engine for technological change, pushing boundaries constantly with things like Starlink, forcing industries to adapt. But as we've discussed, that drive is completely tangled up with major controversies, constant legal fights, and a huge impact on public conversation, maybe even government itself via DOGE, according to our source.
So, what does sorting through all this complexity mean for you listening right now? Well, hopefully it gives you a much richer context. Context for understanding the news you read about tech, about business, about policy. It's all connected. It lets you appreciate the sheer audacity and complexity of innovation on this scale, but also see the very real challenges, the controversies, the responsibilities that come with that kind of global power.
And maybe, as we watch Elon Musk continue to shape our world in so many ways, the big question left for you to think about is this. When one person can gain so much influence across so many critical areas, space, AI, energy, communication, even potentially government, what are the fundamental duties that come with that power? And ultimately, who holds power like that accountable? Who keeps it in check?